still going to be doing beer school. It's just going to be a little bit different. And when I feel like I want to do something different instead of just inviting people in to drink their beer, you never really know who is going to be presenting the class. So that being said, I'm doing class tonight. So which is I'm happy about it. I haven't done one in quite a while, and we're going to be doing a lot of different things. We're not just going to be, like I said, doing what we have always kind of done in the past. Also, that being said, if anybody has any ideas or wants and desires for beer school, come and talk to me after class. I pretty much try to come up with all these ideas, and it's sometimes there are obvious things that would be really fun and cool to do that just don't come to mind. So if you guys have ideas, I highly encourage you to come to me and talk to me about that. I just don't want it to be some random brewery next week bringing all their stuff. The other thing I've run into this semester, and I'll let you guys know this now, is that not only do they want to do that mostly, but most of the breweries, when they come in, they want to basically give you guys their core brands. They don't want to continue to bring super exciting things to everybody. And I know that's kind of a bummer, and I'm not trying to talk bad about them. The problem is that the way they look at it is that their fancy beers are like maybe 7% of their sales, maybe, if that. So they want you guys, they want to continue to reintroduce you to and revisit things that are their core brands that are, they're 93 to 95% of their sales. So it becomes a challenge for me to continue to get them to bring things like that to you guys. So, that's just the state of the state, if you will. Any questions? And I don't mean any of this, to be really a negative thing, because it's really not. It just kind of gives us an opportunity to do different things. So a couple things I want to tell you guys about. I told you if you didn't get your graduation card, please come up and get it. We are going to have 17 classes this semester. It's a lot. Graduation is on May 18th, something like that. So somewhere around the 20th, 18th, whatever the date is. If anybody has a calendar, it's that week. And so 17 classes and then graduation. We're also going to have a field trip, which I'm working on right now, which will probably end up being April, I think, somewhere in that range. I don't have all the details of that confirmed yet, so I'm not going to tell you anything about it, just that that's about when it's probably going to happen. Other than that, we didn't have homework today. I wanted to let you guys know, and I told you a lot about this last semester. We had a magic show last semester here in the venue on a Saturday night, and we have another one coming up on February 11th. And this is the Society of American Magicians is putting on the show. The last one was a sold-out crowd in this room, and it's really great. I'm a magician, if you guys didn't know that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be in the show on stage or if I'm just going to be doing walk-around stuff. I haven't really decided yet, but the show's going to be amazing. And so if you're interested in that, it is $15 for the tickets. It's like a 2-hour show. It starts at 7 o'clock on February 11th. And I would love for you guys to come because it's going to be a great show. Questions about anything I've said so far? Awesome. All right. So today, I was going to spend a little bit of time sort of creating a baseline for beer school for the semester and talking a little bit about important basic beer concepts. I don't feel the need to really do that because everybody that's here has been here enough that I don't think we need to talk about hops and about malt, at least not in a general sense. Is there anybody that feels like we need to kind of go over some of that stuff? Like I said, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a brewer. I was going to sort of do a little bit of 101 for people that maybe are new to the class or fairly new to beer. I don't think anybody in this class is. So we can sort of get on to the better parts. Does that sound reasonable? All right. Hi. So what we're going to do today is we are going to taste 5 beers today. All right. And the theme of the class today is, as I said before, to sort of establish a baseline for the quality that hopefully we're going to see this semester, or maybe we're not going to see it. But what I want to do is give you guys some examples of beer that people around the country have all agreed that these are top-notch beers. Okay, so all the beers that we're tasting today have a rating on Rate Beer of a minimum of 95. Some of them are 100. There's a 99, but all of them, I think, are 95. Yeah, that's the lowest one. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to taste 5 beers in that are 5 different styles. If you are a malt head and you don't like anything except really malty beers, probably should go. So, you know, we are going to do basically everything but that. I'm going to save that for another time this semester. It's not going to be a bunch of IPAs, so if you're not a hop head, it's not going to be that. All right? The other thing that we're going to do is we are going to taste all of our beers today 100% blind. You guys aren't going to know the style. You're not going to know the beer. All right? And what we're going to do is, once you guys get the first example, I'm going to give you some time. We're going to talk about basically going through each category of the beer and basically rating it. And then when you're done, I want you guys to give it a score out of 100. And then I'm going to let you guys know what the beer is. We're going to talk about that beer a little bit specifically. And then I'll tell you what rating that beer has on the internet and that sort of thing. How does that sound? Yeah? All right, right on. So hopefully you guys are about to get your first beer. So I'm going to go over kind of some of the things that are kind of you can look on your sheet. We can sort of go over that together. And I'll give you guys some other ideas of things to be thinking about while we're rating each one of these. So obviously the first thing that we look at is appearance. You guys can use that section for clarity and head to mark where your interpretation of the beer. Now what I want you guys to do to make this easy so that we don't have to give out a giant stack of paper to do this project is just use a number 1 and mark it on that scale wherever it should go. And then for the next beer you could put a number 2 and then a number 3 for the third, you know what I'm saying? So that way you kind of can use one sheet instead of wasting a bunch of paper. Thank you. So when we're talking about appearance, we're looking at clarity and head. And some of the other things that we want to look at is, is it pale? Is it golden? Is it amber? Is it ruby? Is it brown? Is it black? Is it clear? Is it hazy? Is it cloudy? Is it lively? Is it foamy? Is it creamy? Those kinds of things are what we're looking for with respect to appearance. If you guys want to start filling this out as we're going along, feel free. I'm just going to kind of keep talking about each one of the categories. If you want to start sort of marking it and tasting as we go. No. So what we're going to do is, when you use the scale that's on here, just use a number 1 for the first beer, a number 2 for the second beer. You know what I'm saying? That way it'll be easy to kind of figure out where they go. So in terms of aroma, we're looking for basically intensity and balance of aroma. Is it faint? Is it strong? Is it sweet? Is it a sharp flavor? Does it have any off flavors? Does it not have off flavors? Can you taste the grain? Does it taste like bread? Is it sweet? Is it toasty, caramely, nutty, toffee, chocolatey? The aroma from the hops, is it earthy? Is it floral? Is it herbal? Is it spicy? Is it resinous? Is it citrusy? And then any other aroma that you get from it. You might get a fruity aroma. You might get a skunky aroma on some of these. Maybe not, but hopefully you don't get a skunky aroma on any of these. You might get a flavor of corn. If you do, that's usually a problem. There are a lot of beers that it's not a problem, but it's possible that you could get that as well. With respect to flavor, we're talking about intensity and balance. So is it a faint flavor? Is it a strong flavor? Is it a sweet flavor, or is it a bitter flavor? So we're talking about tasting the grain, again, the same things when it comes to flavor. The grain, the bread, the sweet, toasty, nuttiness, caramel, toffee, chocolate, coffee. And again, does it taste earthy? Does it taste floral, herbal? All those things. So go ahead and work through that. The next category is mouthfeel. Is it light? Is it medium-bodied? Is it full-bodied? How does it feel on your tongue? Is it creamy? Is it slick? Is it a drying sort of thing? Is it warming? Does it make you pucker? Is it astringent or chalky or any of these things? And then finally, the finish. How long does it last? Is it a dry finish? Is it a sweet finish? Is it a lengthy finish or short finish? How intense is the finish? Is it really faint, or is it really kind of strong and lingery? What's the balance on the beer? Is it sweet? Is it bitter? And then the final thing I want you guys to do is just give a general impression. And that's basically the craftsmanship of the beer, whether you think it's a well-crafted beer, whether you personally like it or not, isn't really the issue there, but whether it's well crafted. The freshness of the beer, does it seem stale? Does it seem out of date? Or does it seem like it's fresh out of the tap? And then personal taste, just whether you liked it or whether you didn't like it. Once you guys get through this, I want you, as I said, you can take notes if you want to on the bottom, but I want you to give it a score basically from 0, well, let's just do 0 to 100. And this is you personally based upon everything that you write on the sheet for the first beer. All right? Yes, questions? Yes. Yep. Does it smell nice or does it smell, like a toilet? Because that's not what you want it to smell like. I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to sort of kind of work through this. It's kind of got that sort of very good. How many people don't really think it's really very good? Okay.
What kind of beer is this?
Good question. Does anybody think they know what style this beer might be? You can just shout it out if you want.
I think it might be stout.
Stout? It is an IPA. It's actually a session IPA, which you guys might have guessed that. So anybody have any idea what this beer might be? Yes, sir? It is not citradelic. You get a lot of citrus from this? Yeah. Any other ideas? No? This is Firestone Easy Jack. That's what this beer is. So I'm not going to go into the beer, too much about the beer. I'll give you some kind of quick vital stats. We're not going to talk too much about the beers outside of the ratings that we're doing. But this beer on ratebeer gets a 95 on ratebeer. And that's out of 590 ratings. So there are quite a few people that rated that beer. It's 4.5% ABV, and it's got 48 IBUs. So it's pretty, fairly high IBUs for a session IPA, but the alcohol level is pretty low. So how many people in the room gave the beer 90% or better? A 90 or better? Raise your hand high. All right, how many people in the room gave the beer an 80% or better? Keep your hands up, the 90s, 80 or better. Raise your hands, 80 or more or higher. All right. How about anybody rate it between 50 and 80? All right, and anybody below a 50 out of 100 besides Adam? Thanks. Anybody? What'd you rate it, Adam? You didn't even bother. It's like his arch nemesis is hops, so it just is what it is. So 4.5%. So are you guys surprised to hear what this beer is? Are you surprised to hear the style? Are you surprised about anything about this beer? Pretty much exactly kind of what you expected. And the people that rated it high, is this a beer that you typically like, or is this maybe a beer you've never had, or a beer that you didn't know you liked? Anybody?
I've never had it. It's okay. It's well made. I wouldn't buy it.
Okay. Second that. Is there anybody in the room that is excited to go and buy some of this and drink it on the next warm day? Yeah, a few people? Okay, right on. All right. You guys are not very excited about this beer. That's okay. I mean, this is, like I said, what's important about what we're doing right now is that it's not about what really you guys think in this room necessarily. I mean, it is, but what I really want to do is give you some examples of beers that people around the country, agree this is either good or not good. This is kind of the rating that it's getting. And the average is 95 across really the world, actually. Yes, sir.
Is Firestone sunsetting this beer? They're getting rid of the Wookiee Jack.
I don't think this is going anywhere. Yeah, I definitely don't think that they're getting rid of this because it sells really well and it has a really high rating, so people typically like it.
Well, Wookiee Jack had a pretty high rating too.
It's just a hard beer to sell a lot of because it's not a very sessionable beer, I like that beer. Most people like that beer, but it's not very sessionable. All right, second beer. If you guys haven't started, you can go ahead and start the second beer the same way just like we did the first. If you guys have questions while you're working on this, just shout it out, and I will do my best to answer them. If you guys in this room were, beer novices, I would explain to you how to smell it properly, how to taste it properly, but you guys all pretty much know how to do that, so I'm not really going to spend time doing that unless somebody wants me to do that. Yeah? Yeah, that's fine. So first thing is you look at it, see what color it is. It's, even with that plastic cup, it's a little tricky, but you can still kind of get the idea. After you've sort of inspected it, the next thing to do would be basically to agitate it. So try to, make a few more bubbles. And then once you've done that, you're going to kind of get a sniff of it, an aroma. I know that when we had Ashley Hayden from New Belgium last semester, she was talking about the drive-by, which I think is kind of funny. I don't, you certainly don't have to do that, but it does work if you sort of agitate it and then do one of these and drive it by your nose. It works to get, a good aroma. The other thing that you can do is sort of get your nose right in there and kind of take a big whiff after you've done the drive-by. If you do it with your mouth open, it's going to be a much better experience as far as what you're getting out of the beer. If you can take a big sniff in with your nose with your mouth open and take a kind of a big breath through your nose, it makes a difference, right? Then after that, you're going to taste it. You're going to take a taste. You're going to see what kind of experience you're getting from it, what you're tasting out, what you're getting out of it as far as taste goes. And then once you swallow it, you're going to look at the finish, how it finishes. Does it finish dry? Does it finish sweet? How does it finish? Once you've kind of determined how it finishes, the last thing to do is really just your overall impression of the beer. And that's pretty much start to finish. How's everybody doing? We're going to do 5 of these today, so we are on the second one right now. Is everybody ready to sort of talk about this one? Almost? No cheating at the bar. They like this beer. Raise your hand. Generally speaking, good beer? Okay. How many people do not like this beer? Just a handful of people do not like the beer? All right. So, how many people rated it a 90% or better? And what about 80% or better? Anybody rate this beer below a 70%? Anybody? Yeah, 2 people? Nobody else? That's it? What score did you guys give it? 50? 50 and 70. Okay. 92? 98? All right. Did anybody give this beer a perfect score? Anybody think this is a perfect example of style and flavor and everything is perfect? Is there anybody that gave this 100? Yes? Joy, did you really give it 100? Anybody give it a 99? 98, 97? 98? Okay. Right on. Well, would anyone like to guess as to what style of beer this is? It is not a cream ale. It's not a Belgian. It's not a Saison. Adam, what style is it? It is a hefeweizen. Yes, indeed. It is a hefeweizen. So, Stacy and Joe, do you guys typically like hefeweizens? I figured that not. Okay, that's okay. If you're giving this beer a 50, you probably don't generally like them. That's okay. Anybody want to guess as to what beer this is? No. But Franziskaner is a really good guess. If we weren't drinking this, we would be drinking that, because that's an awesome beer. So what's the other one? No? No? Yes, that's right. Yep. Weihanstephan, Hefeweizen. We have it on draft. We pretty much have it on draft all the time. This beer, it is a traditional German-style Hefeweizen. And on Rate Beer, you guys still with me here? On Rate Beer, 3,160 people rated it. So more than 3,000 ratings on Rate Beer, and the average is a 99. So it's really interesting. People that, and keeping in mind that when it comes to rating beers online, not a lot of people rate styles that they don't like. So you don't have people that just don't like Hefeweizens on especially Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, getting on there and rating beers. But 99, I mean, I would say this is, 95 to 100 for me, because this is my favorite style. So I would say this is somewhere between 95 and 100. This beer is 5.4%, and has 14 IBUs, which is, fairly typical for this style of beer. It was a gold medal winner in the World Beer Awards. It's won a lot of other awards as well, so it's very highly acclaimed. Yes? What's that? How do you spell it? Weihenstephaner. Weihenstephan. I watched a video earlier, and it was really kind of hilarious on their website. And so it was a video about how Americans pronounce this beer. And so it's just a bunch of people trying to pronounce it, and then they gave the proper pronunciation, and at the end they were like, just call it whatever you want, we don't care. So, what's that? I did, it was pretty funny. So, guys want to move on to the next beer? All right? So far we've started off with a beer that had a 96 rating and a beer that had a 99 rating. So I'm intentionally picking beers, as I said before, because I sort of want to set the standard for the semester so you guys sort of know what good beer is supposed to taste like. Whether you like the style or not, you can tell that it's a good, it's a good beer and it's a well-made beer. We'll need to make some. There's none downstairs. I mean, I don't know anything about it, but if we are, we are, but, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I could go look, but, well, I'm sure that Rich already looked, right? I had no idea that we were close. Yeah. Yeah. How's everybody doing on this beer? Yeah, good? All right. Just in case you guys are curious, I have a lot of beer that we're going to give away today in the raffle. So the raffle is all beer today. So if you guys did not get raffle tickets and you want to get more, I don't know who has the raffle tickets, but you could probably go to the bar and find out. But these are our raffle prizes for today. And we have some really cool stuff. This, and thought it was a pretty good beer. Raise your hand. General impressions are pretty good. And how many people's general impression was that they just didn't like it? Raise your hand high. So only, 3 people in the room generally thought it was not really very good? 4 people? 5? Most of the people in the room thought it was generally a good beer. Okay. What about, how many people rated it above 90? So maybe 8 or 10 people. Okay. What what specifically did everybody think about some of the categories? Like, for instance, how did you guys feel about the aroma? What was the intensity of the aroma? Very faint. What was that? What did you say? It smells like air. Okay. Well, you're obviously one of the people that didn't like it. But that's okay. It's all right. And what about flavor? Did you guys feel like this was I don't think it's very intense. I think we could probably all agree on that. Do you feel like it was balanced? That it was a well-balanced beer? Okay. And what about mouthfeel? What about how about the body? Obviously, it's pretty light body, right? What about carbonation level? Would you say it's in the lively category, somewhere kind of in the middle? Yeah. And then how about finish? What's that? Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the ratings one more time. How you guys rated it? So how many people said it was a 90 or better? Raise your hand. Raise your hands high. 90 or better. Okay. And how about 80 or better? 90s need to leave their hands up. Let me rephrase that. 90 or better. 80 or better. Keep your hands up if you're above 80. 70 or better? Okay, so anybody rate this beer like a 50 or below? How many would raise your hand? I want to see, really. So 3, is that it? What did you rate it? You didn't get, what would you score it out of 100? Probably below 50? Okay. All right, well, I mean, again, the overall impressions were that most people thought it was pretty good. 70% of the room would say it was 80 or better. Okay. Are you guys ready to find out what this was? Adam? That's up for interpretation. So, first let me tell you what the rate beer rating is of the beer we just tasted. The rate beer rating of the beer we just tasted is 4. 4. Not 40, not 94, 4. It's a 4. So this is what I'm saying is that, I purposefully sort of, led you guys down the path of we're setting a standard for the semester. We're going to talk about, beers that are highly rated, that are tasty, that everybody agrees are delicious, and all this other stuff. And it worked like that. This is what I'm saying is that this is why beer is such an individual thing. I mean, nobody's wrong in the end. You drink what you like, and just because you don't agree with other people doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't really make a difference, but you can really be influenced by other people. Not other people telling you that you're cool or not cool, but other people telling you whether it's a good beer or not a good beer, So let me just tell you, just so you guys understand, sort of the breadth of this rating 4. 1,592 people rated this beer. 1,592, and the average was a 4 out of 100. So this is Lablatt Blue. That's the beer we just drank that 70% of the room liked. So, what's that? What's that? Got to figure out something. No, I really mean, what I was saying before. It's like, sometimes, there are a lot of factors that determine how you feel and, how your senses operate. And expecting to taste a good beer and trusting me that I'm going to not give you something like Lablatt Blue is going to make you taste it differently. Yes, Jake. What's that? Regular. Yep. The blue Amstel, or not Amstel, Lablatt Blue. The official. It is imported. Official beer of Canada and hockey. Shh. That's right. Right on. So, as far as stats of this beer, it's 5% ABV. It's got about 10 to 12 IBUs. And if you guys, I'm going to read the commercial description of this beer just because it's entertaining for you guys. You guys ready? All right, here we go. The world's best-selling Canadian beer. It's a lie already. Brewed with the finest ingredients, including renowned Hallertau hops, 2-row malted barley, and pure Canadian barley. Fruity character with slightly sweet aftertaste. Light, crisp, and delicate in its flavor delivery. The delicateness must be coming from the corn. So, what's that? It's just an American adjunct, just like Budweiser or any of those kind of beers. Yeah. You would take this on a float trip? Hey, whatever, it's fine. Do whatever you want. All right, if you want to buy growlers, I'm your man. All right, let's move on to the next beer, everybody. There may or may not be another dud in the bunch, so if you don't want to embarrass yourself again, you might want to pay closer attention to the beer you're drinking. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, moving on. Consider their general impression of this beer, as far as craftsmanship, would say that it's closer to excellent than it is to boring. How many people think it's closer to excellent than boring under the general impression, the craftsmanship of this beer? How many people? Raise your hands high. What's that? Okay. That's okay. Point taken. And what about personal taste? How many people you like it just personally? You like this beer? How many people like it? How many people? So maybe a third to a half of the class or something like that. Thanks. What's that? Yeah, I was going to say, but you guys don't matter because you like Labatt's. Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's so. What about different than personal taste? You know, general impression. How many people thought it was pretty good, but maybe didn't necessarily like it? Not that many people? Okay. How many people thought this beer was just not good? Raise your hand. Just not really very good. Your general impression was kind of negative. So it's about a third, and then a third have no idea where they are. Right? Okay, that's fine. That's okay. It's all right. Okay. So as far as score is concerned, how many people rated it a 90 or higher? 90 or higher. Anybody? Nobody? All right, that's fine. How about 80 or higher? A few people in the 80 categories? Okay. 70? Anybody 50 or below? Below 50? Two peas in a pod right there. You guys raise your hands together the entire night. That's okay. That's all right. Okay, well, guys want to know what we're doing? What this is all about? Obviously, there's some sort of flavor going on in this beer. Who knows what that flavor is? Yes? What's that? No, I'm just asking for the flavor specifically at this point. Anybody? Ideas? Bill? Pineapple? Nope. No. What's that? Well, it is sour, but what is that flavor that's in there? It's not orange. Lemon, tangerine, no. Not mango, not grapefruit. It's a very strong flavor. When I tell you, you're going to be like, oh yeah, of course. It's very strong, the flavor actually. And when I tell you, does everybody have a little bit left? No? Some people, yeah, okay. It's passion fruit. So if you want to taste it again, I didn't hear that in the back. If you want to taste a little bit more, you're going to get a lot of passion fruit out of it now that you know that's what it is. It's really very distinct, that flavor. Okay, so this beer, some of you may or may not have had. Technically speaking, it's sort of classified as a fruit beer. It's kind of like a very light sour, but in theory, it's really a wit beer, a Belgian wit style beer. And the beer is Avery Liliko'i Kepolo. Has anybody ever had this beer before? Anybody? A couple people? It's one of my favorites. I really like this beer. It's had about 400 ratings on Rate Beer, and it has a 95 rating. 95. And it's called Avery Liliko'i Kepolo with a K. Liliko'i Kepolo. So it does have a fair bit of malt in it, a fair bit of hops in it. The yeast that's used in this is like straight Hoegaarden yeast, so it's a straight classic Belgian wit yeast, and that's where a lot of the flavor is coming from. It's pretty much the Hoegaarden yeast and the passion fruit is where pretty much all the flavor is coming from. So did anybody change their mind at any point during that discussion, or does most of the class still just not like it? No? All right, well, I'm glad that I didn't put it on draft this week. So, because it's not a cheap beer, that's for sure. It's what's that?
How much did it cost?
I mean, if we had it on draft here, it would probably be in the $5 for a smaller, a 10-ounce glass range, be in that range. At the grocery store, you know, I don't know how they sell it. Probably a 6-pack for, I don't know, $10.99-ish, $9.99, somewhere in that range. All right, next beer. If you guys have it, go ahead and start working on the last one. Beer. All right. General impressions. How many people thought it was pretty good? Raise your hand. All right, 3 people, 4 people. Okay. How many people in the room generally do not like hoppy beers? Raise your hand. Well, this one was destined to be bad. Nobody's coming back next week. You're like, yeah, forget it. This guy, all about the hops this semester. Okay, well, that's fine. Well, then I don't know. How many people, let's start on the other end. How many people rated it below 50? Now, is that because it's not a good example of this beer, or is it just because you don't like hops? Okay, all right, well, it's kind of the way it goes. All right, that's fine. Okay, so all the people that don't like hops, stare at the floor. Okay, the people that do like hops. All right. Now, for the people that do like hops, how many people rated it a 90 or higher? Anybody? 4? Anybody rated 80? 80 to 90 people that are hoppy people? 70 to 80 in that range? Okay, so kind of a wide range. Okay, well, that's fine. Anybody have any guesses as to what beer this is? What's that? Stone? What do you think? Okay. It's not Arrogant Bastard. It is indeed, though, Stone IPA. Classic Stone IPA, which is why it has a lot of hops. So this beer, out of all the beers that we did in the class, has more ratings than any of the other beers, and I think that means a lot. If we're doing a beer that has 4 ratings and it's 100, well, that's not very meaningful, you know. This beer has just under 4,000 ratings, which is a lot of people that are rating this beer. And the average is a 99. 99. So, you know, if you want to take that leap into hops and you feel like you need to start being a hophead instead of whatever it is that you are, and I'm not judging at all, but this is a good beer to learn to like. According to most of America, you know, it's just kind of how it is. That's possible. So it has 77 IBUs, pretty high, 6.9% ABV. That's also on the higher side for a standard IPA. And as far as hops goes, it's got Magnum, Chinook, and Centennial hops, so it's fairly standard except for the Magnum, but that sort of adds a little bit more than just fruitiness and that sort of thing. Yes, sir?
Avery
Liliko'i Kepolo. On the Liliko'i, the ABV was 5.6%. Yep. Like 12, you know, 12 maybe 10, like in that range. Yeah. Right on. So, what do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy doing this experiment? Does everybody enjoy it? Have you guys done anything like this before? I mean, we haven't, well, not quite the same here, but something similar. Do you like the fact that we're doing it blind? Does that help? Because I think it really changes things, obviously. Labatt's. You know, I mean, and that's like, it's fine. I mean, that was really part of the deal. I mean, everybody needs to understand that there are a lot of things that are going to influence the kind of beer that you like on any given day. And it might not be the same beer from day to day or week to week, depending on the environment and depending on the circumstances. And that's just the way beer is. So the best thing that I can tell you about that is that, you know, it is really all about your taste, and you should continue to drink the beer that you like and not care what anybody else says or thinks. If you like the cheapest beer, then drink the cheapest beer. That's the best beer. If you like the most expensive beer, then, well, drink the most expensive beer, you know? Yeah, I mean, if you're drinking the most expensive beer, there's no better place to get that beer than here. So if you want to buy a bottle of like, you know, oh, I don't know, a Lindemann's Cuvée Rene, for instance, that's like $35, but it's an amazing beer. Feel free to let Kelly know, and she'll get one for you. Right on. Any other questions?